from Monday to Friday, we have looked at data structures and algorithms. On Monday, we started with a theoretical session and an introduction of data structures. And then we shared a challenge with you where you had to solve certain problems concerning the data structures we looked at on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we had a practical session where my colleague Oghomwen from Nigeria was able to solve the challenges live. And then on Wednesday, we looked at algorithms, still theory. And then yesterday, we looked at the practical version of the algorithms. So today is mainly a wrap-up session. So I'd like to once again introduce my colleagues, but I'll start with myself. My name is Daniela Fedra, and I'm a talent manager at Tonga. So is my colleague Oghomwen from Nigeria. And today I have a special guest for you, Esther Nsima, who happens to be the head of the community space at Tonga. She's going to be addressing us about Tonga and very many other interesting things. So allow me to hand over the microphone to her. Esther.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me well, Daniel? Okay. Hi, everyone. Would like to welcome you to the last day of the Data Structures and Algorithms Bootcamp that has been facilitated by Oghomwen and Daniel, who are talent managers in Tonga. My name is Esther. I'm the developer community lead in Tonga. We have over 800 developers on the Tonga platform. And I'm really glad you've been able to come and join us through this day this 5-day bootcamp. As you are aware, as Tonga, we're making efforts to be able to upskill as many developers as possible. Because at the end of the day, every company out there is looking for a developer who is stellar and ready to work. But so many times very few are making an effort to actually train these developers. And given how free and forgiving and rewarding the field of software development is, you find that it allows anybody who, whatever background it is, to be able to come in and learn and actually make money out of it. My background is in construction as a quantity surveyor, and here I am working in tech, and it has been a completely rewarding journey. But the challenge there is with that, there is no guide, because when I did QS, I knew that by the end of the 4 years, these are the modules, and this is what I need to learn to have achieved or to be qualified as a quantity surveyor. But with software development and how technologies are changing day in and day out, there is no guide or module. So you sometimes find that you've picked up a technology and you have not been able to master certain things to allow you to be successful. And we've realized that data structures and algorithms are some of the things that we developers so many times ignore. And that is why the team at Tonga decided to take this opportunity to make it possible for you. As long as anybody registered for this training, you'll be contacted at the end of the bootcamp to receive the learnings and the videos, at least before the end of next week, to receive the videos for training, as well as the presentations that allow you to follow through on what has been taught. But then for the participants who have been able to go through the 5-day event from day 1 to day 5, you will receive your certificates of completion of this module that will be shareable and credible through LinkedIn and all the other applications that you may want to add, and you can always add them on your CVs as well through the Tonga Academy. As you are aware, we aim to find remote jobs for African software developers. And if you are out there and you're interested in joining Tonga, this is a place for you to be. We focus on upskilling you as a developer as well, on top of the experience that you have been able to gain to allow you work in a challenging environment. Some of the things that we've been able to come up with is the Tonga Academy, which is a free platform for you to learn and upskill yourself. Tonga as well makes an effort to allow you to test yourself, either using the Tonga testing platform, or you can contact a talent manager and they will invite you to a quarter-byte assessment that will allow you know where you are. Because sometimes we are learning, we're unable to put things in practice, and you find that, have I improved or have I not improved? And given that most testing platforms out there are really, really expensive, Tonga is coming in to cover that cost for you to understand how better you are at what it is that you're learning. So I'm really glad you've been able to join us. some of the other things that we've been able to put up for you to be able to make yourself competitive in the market. We organize hackathons. For example, we have the Madiro Hackathon coming up in collaboration with Madiro, Hacks, and Tonga, where we have a theme for global health. So finding solutions that can be able to resolve certain challenges in the health sector. So you get an opportunity to either form a team or request for a team, and you stand to win over 3,000 Canadian dollars. And I think if you're interested, please feel free to sign up, and I'm sure they will share with you the links at the end of the presentation. Yeah, Daniel has shared it. So please feel free to sign up and get an experience. You get to interact with developers from all over Africa, but then also you get to come up with ideas that are resolving challenges that we think about every single day. We've recognized the biggest number of registrations have been coming from Nigeria, and we are happy about that as well. But we're also looking forward to have as many more countries coming up to sign, as well as allow you to expand your knowledge out of the norm that has been fintech into other sectors. And that is how the Madiro Health Hackathon will be able to support you. Is there anything I've forgotten to talk about? We have events as well that are coming up. For example, the Tonga Ask the Expert Tuesday, where we shall be hosting experts on specific topics. And you can always feel free to suggest something that you think this is something that we need to know about, or if there is a technology that is being used out there and you have no idea about, we are really open suggestions such that we provide services and events and programs that are fit to your need, as opposed to us just coming up with things that may not be of interest to you. So feel free to join us for our first Tonga Ask the Expert Tuesday, where we shall be hosting Oluwalana, who is the CEO of Convoy, a cloud-native webhook that has gone out of the norm that has been described in technology in Nigeria. And you will get an opportunity to understand and learn the different use cases that this specific application allows you to resolve. I'm really glad that you've been able to join us today, and we look forward to you attending as many trainings as possible. Thank you. Daniel?
Thank you so much, Esther. That is the head of our developer community at Tonga. Esther, please drop your details in the chat such that our developers are able to reach out to you in case of any queries that they have or any proposals they might have for Tonga. I'll request you to also leave some details in the chat for them. Thank you so much for speaking about Tonga and telling us about what Tonga offers and the beautiful events that are yet to come and those that are happening as we speak. Right now, today, we're going to look at a wrap-up of the data structures and algorithms. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like for us to emphasize on or put more emphasis on it, please share it in the chat or in the Q&A. We'll be able to look at it. I forgot to introduce my colleague, Lynn. Please forgive me for that. Lynn also works with Esther in the community space. Lynn, you can just say hi to us before we get started. And I also want to hand over to Oghomwen to give us the good stuff that brings us here.
Hello, hi to you. Thank you all for joining and being part of this 5-day bootcamp with Tonga. It was a great journey indeed. And thank you, Esther, for allowing to be hijacked on last minute. A biggest thank you goes to the two main managers who have been here all through the week. IG, Daniel. It was great being in the back, always in the shadow. And I think this is it. This is the end. And I can't wait to see what else people were expecting, the questions, and all the whatnot. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Lynn, for being a part of us, and also for always reaching out to our developers and sharing the content with them, the links, and also other ways to join Tonga. And now is time for the moment of truth. I'd like to hand over to Oghomwen, a talent manager from Nigeria. I had most of us are from Nigeria, so if you can reach him physically, we're here to open an office soon, such that you can easily access Oghomwen. IG, over to you now. Thank you so much. Please leave your questions in the chat and we'll be able to deal with them. Thank you so much. IG, over to you.
I'll also leave my account numbers in the chat in case you can reach me physically. You can reach me digitally via some funds transfers. Yeah, so today it's really all about some feedback, questions. Really, they're no stupid ones. Let's just have fun with this session. Really, that's the point of all of this. I think I already saw some questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and provide some answers. Ramon, you say you're a beginner developer, so you want to know how many times you can take the Tonga test, whether it's maybe in every 3 months or 6 months. But typically on the platform, we onboard developers who have at least 3 years of experience. We're typically looking for developers who are already in the industry. And so I mean, that's important to note. And so, I mean, once you do get to that level, you can try to join us on Tonga and then take the test. Yeah. Yeah, and then of course we also have tests for different levels of expertise, intermediate, advanced, on the platform. Right. Yeah. Okay. Daniel wanted me to do a recap, but I mean that's the let me see. I think on day one, what we did was talk about data structures. We saw the most popular ones. I mean, the high level ones, really, like the array, the linked list, the queue, and also the stack. We also saw a tree, which is also a tree-based data structure. And then we went on to see how to classify each of the data structures based on certain properties like whether they held homogeneous data or heterogeneous data, if they were dynamic or static, and a couple of other characteristics that we did group them by. And then we also answered like a very important question, which was if there are pros and cons in terms of choosing one data structure over another. And I said, really, there are no pros and cons. They're just really certain data structures that are best suited for certain problems, right? So it's not a question of whether one data structure is better over another. It's a question of what tool is the right tool for the job. But not, I mean, it's not like you can compare a a um, a shovel against a spade on its own, right? You typically would ask what's the task at hand, and then ask what tool is best for the task. And so that's how to approach really how to choose a data structure, right? And then we also then went on to talk about algorithms, and we cannot overemphasize their importance in terms of how they've changed our lives. Many things that we interact with today are controlled by algorithms. Algorithms are taking decisions entirely on their own. And then we also saw how the impact of algorithms have affected many lives in terms of things like medical applications. Our algorithms have helped save lives. Also with communication, how algorithms are used within communication systems and all of that. And then we also talked about how to check or how to analyze an algorithm and think about its performance using a certain parameters, right? Like the time complexity and the space complexity of an algorithm, and how that would inform us on how to pick the best algorithm for the problem at hand. Because typically there are many solutions to any problem that we might have, but it then comes down to which solution is the most efficient. And big O notation was something we talked about in terms of analyzing algorithms, how algorithms would perform given the work, right? And so we also did see a couple of comparisons between algorithms. I think yesterday particularly we compared the merge sort with bubble sort in terms of the space complexity and time complexity. And we saw how that although bubble sort was better with managing space, it was a lot slower than merge sort, which did use a lot of space. And so I demystified the fact that there really is no correlation uh, between the space complexity and time complexity. So you can't exactly say because an algorithm is faster, it will use less space, and because an algorithm is slower, it will use more space. There's no direct correlation rather between those two, right? And so that has brought us to where we are now. And today, I would just like to ask any questions that might not have come up in the last 4 days. If you have any ideas you also want to discuss around algorithms and data structures, it'll be amazing to hear them and just talk about them. Yeah, anyone in the room would like to speak? Is everything clear? All right, so I think so far so good. Everyone had the concepts down, everyone understood everything, which is always the desirable outcome for anyone who tries to pass some knowledge. Uh, it's always satisfying, right, to see that all that's been passed on was well received and that there were no gray areas around anything that we already talked about. And so I mean, if there are no questions, I really would say thank you everyone for showing up. Maybe I'll see you in the next one. Who knows? Otherwise, go have fun with all that you have learned. Take a deep dive. I did leave an answer to a question around the resources that we already talked about in the previous session. So check out those resources. Take a deep dive into those concepts. If you really do get to understand them deeply, it enhances your quality, your entire quality as a developer. And so please go ahead and check out those resources. Also buzz me anytime if you have any questions or just leave my email in the chat. If you have any questions around any of the things we talked about, uh, please shoot me an email. Yeah, and I'll be glad to answer. Yeah, I think
I have a question
Lynn left
from
a
Ramon.
question. Someone saying how one wants to know what it takes to be a good dev or how long it takes. So anywhere from 6 months to a year is some good time to to ramp up enough knowledge that makes you at least a very good beginner developer, right? But it then depends on what you learn in that time. And what makes you a good dev isn't really about what language you learn, but it's about what concepts you learn. So there are certain concepts that cuts across any programming language that you pick up. The first and foremost ones being algorithms and data structures, and then there are other concepts that you could learn as well. So there are also things like design patterns, which are really time-tested solutions to common problems in programming. There are also concepts like object-oriented programming and functional programming that you could also pick up. And so, I mean, in your first 3 months of starting out as a software developer, you really want to have the concepts down, and then you can then move on to learning any particular language that you're really interested in. But the concepts of computer science, getting down the maths of understanding computer science and also understanding the high level concepts or low-level concepts, depending on which concepts you get into, is what really makes you, ready for the field, ready to become a good developer. Aline, you're asking what language I would recommend to start as a beginner. Ideally, I would not recommend any language. Anyone is fine. Any language you do pick up is a good language. You can, I mean, in terms of languages, right? They're really just tools in achieving uh, or carrying out a task, right? So I can implement any algorithm using any language. Although from time to time we do see that certain languages become very focused on certain areas in the industry. For example, Python has become really focused on AI and machine learning. But that is not to say that Python is specifically for AI and machine learning. And you will find that most of all the libraries that are used for AI and machine learning are actually written in C and C++. So under the hood, Python as a language calls C and C++ libraries. And so, it would make you stand out as a machine learning or AI developer if you also know such languages, right? Otherwise, you can just use like the high level Python and call those libraries. Yeah. So I would say just learn the concepts, pick up any language. The thing about software developers or software engineers is that you should approach languages as tools or as stuff that you can pick up at any time, just to solve the task at hand. They're just really tools in your toolbox. And so
Oghomwen, sorry,
yes.
IG, is it okay if I ask the queries that are coming in with people such that you don't have to distract yourself?
Yeah,
with
that's
the
fine.
reading? Okay. We have Alan Musembia asking, do you advise someone to know a framework or to understand the fundamentals of programming, or to just understand the frameworks of programming?
I think you already answered the question from the question itself. You should understand the foundations of programming, and you find that picking up a framework is really easy for you, because when you do understand the main concepts, you see how the framework abstracts those concepts, and you see how sometimes you might get boxed up when you use a framework. But if you understand what it is going on under the hood, you can go under and change certain things. And so as a software engineer, you really don't want to put yourself into a box, which is why it's not advisable to just go ahead and learn a framework. So, for things like, for example, the popular language JavaScript, I wouldn't say go and learn Node.js or learn React. You really want to learn JavaScript and get it down to its root and understand how JavaScript really works before you then pick up any of the frameworks of JavaScript and take it on.
Okay. You have another question coming in where someone is asking, no one wants to hire beginners. What do you have to say about impostering to get hired? Or how do you get the confidence to stop calling yourself a beginner?
There are many opportunities out there for people who are beginners, and you would say no one wants to hire beginners. That is true, but you can get the experience you have, and one way to hack it is to volunteer yourself to open source projects, and they're a great way to learn how to code. So you can go on GitHub, find some really popular, good open source projects, try to understand the project itself and see how you can contribute code to those projects. That also creates exposure for you, or and then just puts you out there for other developers to notice that yes, this person is valuable. He understands how to code. He understands how to work with other people, and so you also develop skills along those lines. And if you've worked on any open source project for 2 years, that is enough experience to really get into any company, right? But I mean, it's a long time. You really might not get so much money or even any money at all. But then that's one way to really get your hands dirty and to get the experience that you need. Other ways are internships, which are really good to gain experience. And I can assure you one internship is all you need. Otherwise, if you don't find any, just go ahead and look out for open source projects to contribute code to. I mean, you, by just even looking at the projects and looking at what already exists in the code, you can start to learn what people who are in industry are able to do and how you can start to also build on those the existing code base that they already have. And once you start to get your code approved into the main code base of the open source projects, you start to gain that confidence, right? To really confidence and also experience to really, get into companies where you can demonstrate that you have experience.
Yeah, and I think to add on to what IG has said, you also do not want to put the concepts to bed. You want to put them to practice, because once you do not practice as a software developer, then you become obsolete. So you want to put these concepts, data structures. I'm seeing good suggestions coming in the chat. So yeah, it's one thing to learn the concepts and it's another to put them to practice. Yeah, so as a beginner, you want to make sure that you master these concepts such that you can advance to the next stage, which is to become a media developer. Thank you. Ramon, I see your hand is up. Please unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon, and thank you. So my question has been partly answered, but not fully. So regarding when someone can be, how do I put it, say ready to join, for instance, Tonga, say 3 years experience. So, or instead of looking at it in terms of years, I want to have an idea of, say, let's say if you've been able to achieve A, B, C, D, right? So in terms of your level of skill, and maybe if it requires projects and all. So I just want to have an idea of, okay, what are the things that I should have done maybe along the line in my career to know that I am ready, right? So I would know when I'm going in the right direction and the things that are left, because you could actually work in a place and you are not being exposed to as much knowledge as you need, and 3 years will pass by and you are not ready. So I want to have an idea of what are those things that I need to, have in my toolbox to be ready in that sense. Thank you.
Okay, I can give you a high-level answer already. Firstly, you need to know the basics of computer science. So algorithms, data structures, design patterns, programming language, programming concepts, databases, what else? Programming architectures or application architectures, how to architect software. You need to know those, right? That's everything you need to know generally. And then after you have those down, which are like the basics of really getting into software, you then need to master at least one programming language, and you need to be able to answer all the questions that when it comes to actually using the language and demonstrate the knowledge at a very advanced level. And so you should be maybe at least 8 out of 10 confident when it comes to using at least one programming language. And be able to also implement software engineering or software architectures using that language in particular. All right, does that answer?
Yes, that
awesome.
Gives me a grade. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, I see Tijani's hand is up. Maybe I'll unmute.
Are you unmuting him?
Yeah, I did unmute. Tijani, you can go ahead and ask your question.
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay. The questions I wanted to ask is this: like, somebody who just begin his journey into software development. You talked about an open source, and when you look at an open source for beginners, sometimes it's usually look cumbersome. Take for instance, when you open the GitHub to know where to start from. So if you can actually give a hint on where a beginner, how to look for an issues on them on open source projects, and how to approach the maintainers then before working on contributing or solving an issue on open source.
Okay. So ideally, if you are really good with algorithms and data structures and you open any projects, right, the first things that pop out to you are the data structures that are in use, as well as the areas where the algorithms have been, the business rules, right, that takes care of, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, as well as the business rules. So those are the areas where the algorithms are written, and then you can immediately see the data structures, how data is represented within the program, right? And so when those two sets of things make sense to you, you can start to get a feel of what's going on within the project. And so once you do get a feel of what's going on within the project, you can then start to decide what areas you want to contribute to. So you definitely want to look at the project in its entirety. Look at so most projects are built in modules. So you want to analyze each module of the project and see which modules that you understand best, and then see how you can contribute to those modules.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We have other questions coming in, IG. Does Tonga have jobs where beginners can volunteer or intern? And if I join Tonga, does that mean I get a job soon? How or how long? What languages does Tonga use?
Okay, I can go ahead and answer that. Does Tonga have jobs where beginners can volunteer or intern? At the moment, we do not. I cannot say specifically for the future, but
I can answer that, IG.
Okay, so awesome.
So I'm not going to give you false hope and say that we do have projects where someone can volunteer or intern, but we recognize that for a field like software development, we learn by doing. Yeah. So many times, even after attending this data structures and algorithms bootcamp, you're going to go back, and if you don't practice, you'll still be in the same place. So we are trying to make efforts to see how we can collaborate with companies that are willing to take on junior developers or even to take on interns, but that is not in the current future, because it's a conversation that we have started, and we're trying to make efforts to see how possible this can be in the near future. And hopefully, when this is possible, we should be able to make updates on our websites. However, what I would encourage you to do is that there are ways you can improve yourself, like IG said, with regards to open source. For example, the Tonga Expert Tuesday event that we're having up next week has all been built on open source. And it would be really, really interesting for you to go and see what is there and how that is happening. But also, when we're looking at a developer's CV, it's not just about it's not just about paid projects, really. It's about what you've been able to put out. Because at the end of the day, we will look at your personal website, because there you can host your weather app, you can host all kinds of applications on different platforms that are available and are free to use. So don't limit yourself and wait for when I get a job, or when I'm able to start interning, or when I find a place to volunteer. Start doing what you can at the moment with the resources that you have are available, because at the end of the day, we learn by doing. Then, yeah, you didn't answer the question on what language does Tonga use.
Yeah, there's no particular language. Any language you come from is something you can. We most likely might find one opportunity or another for you. It might not be, I mean, immediately when you join, but somewhere in the future, we probably will find something for you. Right now, we're very much in need of Ruby developers, also Salesforce developers, Python developers, senior Python developers, C++ developers, very high in demand. Of course, the usual suspects, Java developers, .NET developers, and so there's just a lot of languages that we find opportunities for in terms of helping developers get jobs. So I would say, yeah, maybe that's a good representative list, but really any language you come with is fine for you to join Tonga.
We have Acne has raised their hand. Could you unmute them, IG?
Who?
Yes.
Can you
Okay, so
Yeah, we
okay.
can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Taklai Manot. I'm from Ethiopia. I have one question. What are the procedures or the process for your recruitment process for a junior developers? Like I have 2.5 years of experience, especially in the front-end side, that case. So how can I join your team? That's my question. Thank you.
Esther, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I can answer that. Oh, yes. I think for 2.5 years experience, it's in, I think you guys can disagree with me if possible, but I think that is significant experience to some level, like the way Oghomwen or IG mentioned earlier, that it's not about, sometimes it's not about the years, but what you've been able to do within those years and what you've been able to learn. Because I'm not going to lie that we've had people who will say, I have 3 years experience, I have 4 years, 5 years experience, and they don't have the basic understanding of these technologies. So I'm going to encourage you to apply, send in your application and your CV, include the projects you've been able to work on. And when you're writing your CV, it shouldn't be, when you're sending it in, it shouldn't be about, I have worked here, I have worked there. Make it more project-based because it's about what you have done. I think I'm getting feedback. It's about what you have done. So give a brief explanation of this was the problem. Let's say I was trying to implement this, and this. These are the technologies I used, and this was the success we were able to have. So with 2 years of experience, please feel free to send in your application and you will get a response from our talent team.
Okay, thank you.
There's an interesting question that Lena posted. It says, I've done many coding courses online, yet I still do not feel good enough. Where can I find real projects to contribute to other than open source? Ideally, if you have done a lot of courses, online courses, and you don't feel good enough, I think that's because you probably might be doing it wrong. I can't say for sure. But if you do have the basics or the fundamentals of computer science down, and then you have taken a lot of courses in terms of trying to learn a programming language or another, I think one best approach you can take really is find a real world problem and then try to solve it and put it online. A classic example I can give is, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, right? Before he did graduate Harvard, he created Facebook. And so you ideally do not have to look for a company to work at because you have programming knowledge. You can find a real world problem to solve and put that online. Eventually, you might not know how to monetize, but if it does solve a real problem, the money comes, right? So the goal of actually becoming a software engineer is really to solve problems, not necessarily to only get a job. All right, so find a problem to solve, a real world problem, if you do have the skills. And if you don't feel good enough, try your hands on a real world problem and see how that turns out for you. And if you do,
please go ahead.
yeah, and if you do need some assistance, you could find some seniors in your field who you can just ask a couple of questions from time to time to give you some guidance if you feel like you're not going in the right direction in terms of the problem. Yeah, so Esther, please go ahead.
I think a good opportunity for you to test out the skills is that hackathon that we have coming up on the 19th and 20th of March. So if you have doubts, go in and do that challenge and set yourself apart and you see, okay, I have applied for this. The deadline for this is the 27th, right? You have an opportunity to work with data, you have an opportunity to work with a platform and actually resolve challenges and ideas. Because at the end of the day, even if you're technical and you're not able to think through the problem solving section, which is the most important before you start coding, then you can't be able to proceed. So go and sign up for that hackathon and challenge yourself to see, I have committed to this. Let me see how I'm able to go through it within this period. And the solution that you come up with could actually boost your confidence to say, okay, this is something that I can do. I'm actually good and I've spent time improving myself. Yeah.
Yeah, any more questions?
I don't know if Agni's hand is still up or if those are the questions that we have.
Okay, I think that might be everything. Yeah, Acne, you still have your hand up. You have any more questions?
I don't think we have any more questions coming up. Lynn, is there anything coming up? Someone is asking, are the videos uploaded? The video should be uploaded by the end of next week, and each of you will be contacted. As long as you've signed up, you'll be contacted to receive the videos as well as the presentations to guide you through your learning before the end of next week. You will be contacted via email, but please feel free to check out our YouTube as well, where they will be uploaded as a series, and you can like and subscribe, as well as turn on your notifications. Thank you.
Lynn, you said there's, I don't see any more. Do you have them?
Oh, there was a question up there saying something about our Slack channel.
I don't see it.
It's someone was asking if there is a Slack channel where we can keep you updated. Unfortunately, for you to be able to get access to the Slack channel, where you usually have access to all the jobs as well as the Tonga platform, you would have to have gone through the Tonga onboarding process, which generally involves you taking an assessment based on the language of your choosing that you feel that you're confident enough in, as well as a communication skills test where you get to have a conversation with someone on our team to gauge how good you are with regards to communication. Because at the end of the day, even if you're technically sound, but you're unable to communicate or pass on specific information to the team that you're working with, it creates a challenge, especially in the remote environment that we are encouraging people to work in. So for you to get access to Slack, you will have to apply to join Tonga, which I really encourage you to do, and you will be taken through the process. But do not worry, you will be contacted via email. If there are any updates, if there's any event that we think you should attend, there is anything that we think is interesting for you as a developer, you will definitely be contacted. Someone is asking when the next boot camp is. I think Daniel already mentioned this. It will be the last week of March. The next boot camp is in the last week of March. How do we get the interview to join the Slack channel? I encourage you to go to the Tonga website, tonga.io/join. You will see the join option, join Tonga. You can go in, put your CV, put your name, and if given that you've been able to come and experience this boot camp, you can always make your motivation the data structures and algorithms boot camp, and the talent team will be able to speed up the onboarding process. But always look out on our social media channels. We'll be updating you on the next bootcamps, challenges, events that we think would be interesting in your growth and your journey of launching your tech career. We don't have any more questions coming in. I think we should wrap up.
Awesome. So Esther, you have to give us a vote of thanks. Yeah, as our special guest.
Wow, and oops. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really honored as Tonga to have you, especially for those who have been able to join us for the past 5 days, but even those that have not, given that the time this bootcamp is occurring is usually either during someone's normal work time or they are occupied in the middle of the day. That is why we've made an effort to record these sessions such that you can be able to follow up and learn at your own time. Would like to encourage you to keep learning with Tonga, but also not to forget to join Tonga to get an opportunity to launch your career in tech. And do not think about yourself as a developer for your country or limit yourself to working within your space or your network. Think beyond what has been prescribed to you, because if you look at statistics right now, there is a shortage of software developers all over the world. So do not feel discouraged in your learning journey. There is a job for you because people actually need you to join them and join their teams. And you can do that at the comfort of your home. And that is one of the things that Tonga is going out to promote and encourage. We also recognize that there is so much more for you to learn as a developer. And that is why the Tonga Academy is available for you to learn. But we're also making efforts to partner with different organizations out there and different people that are offering training to allow you get access to training that is quick, but also that is affordable, or if possible, free for an average African developer like me and you, such that you get to learn and compete at an international level. Please feel free to join in all the other events that we have coming up. Feel free to join Tonga. Feel free to contact us when you have a challenge, a query, or you're looking for guidance. My LinkedIn is open, Ninsima Esther on LinkedIn, but we also have the team that is available. All you have to go is to go to Tonga, and you can always leave a message and someone on our team will be able to contact you and respond. At the end of the day, the only thing that I can leave you with is that keep learning and do not stop learning, because the biggest takeaway I've got working in this field is that your ability to learn and relearn, given how fast technologies are changing, sets you apart. And don't be shy to work on your communication as well, because it's really, really, really important. And do not hesitate to sell yourself as a developer. By sell yourself, I mean you have learned something, be able to let it out and let someone know about it. And while you're on your journey with learning, be able to write about it. Use platforms like Medium, like WordPress to put out information that could actually help other people that are growing in your journey. But also you find yourself understanding things better when you have to explain them to someone else. I figure IG and Daniel understand what I'm saying, because for them to come and present data structures and algorithms to people all over Africa and all over the world, they had to be sure they are coming from a point of understanding. So challenge yourself to write about it, and you will see how much you'll be challenged. At the end of the day, what I can request you to do next week is to come join us for the Tonga Expert Tuesday. We shall also be having other events that will be able to guide your journey as you grow in tech. Thank you so much for joining us. And for those that have been here for the 5-day bootcamp, you'll be contacted for your certificates. And for everyone else who has registered, you will receive links to videos for you to guide your learning, and as well as presentations. We enjoyed this session and these sessions with you. And I'd also like to appreciate IG and Daniel, as well as Lynn, that have made this possible. We look forward to other events that we'll be having with you, and do not hesitate to give us feedback, because we believe in continuous improvement. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Esther. Thanks, everyone. See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.